But for the first time, Canadian liquefied natural gas is heading overseas.
Canada can be the #1 exporter of LNG to Asia.
I will guarantee decisions on major projects within a maximum of 1 year.
While the world was glued to Trump's Twitter tirades,
While the world was busy scrolling through Trump's latest Twitter storms, Canada pulled off a move so quiet yet so powerful it could rewrite the balance of power. For the first time ever, Canadian liquefied natural gas is heading straight to Asia, completely skipping the United States. This is far bigger than an energy shipment. It's about breaking free from a century of economic dependence. For decades, Washington held the pen, writing the rules. Over 90% of Canada's oil exports went south to American refineries, fueling U.S. growth. Now, the biggest buyer isn't Washington, it's Beijing. Thanks to new pipeline routes and deepwater ports, Canada has opened a direct highway to Asian markets. Trump's 35% tariffs? Less like a calculated weapon, more like a political tantrum. And here's the part the US doesn't want you to hear. This Canadian energy revolution could do what no trade war ever managed: make America irrelevant in its own backyard. Picture July 8, 2025. No speeches, no headlines, no ribbon cutting. Just a massive LNG tanker gliding out into the Pacific, carrying away 75 years of American dominance. Since World War II, Canada's energy flowed almost entirely south: oil, gas, and stability on demand. Washington called it partnership. In truth, it was dependence, and America was hooked. Then came August 1st, 2025. Trump slammed Canada with a 35% energy tariff, expecting Ottawa to crumble. Instead, Prime Minister Mark Carney played the long game. His answer? Steel and concrete, an $18 billion LNG export terminal in Kitimat, BC, now nearly complete. That first shipment to Asia? Already gone. And just like that, the balance shifted quietly, permanently, and without America's permission. For the first time in history, Canadian natural gas is bypassing the United States entirely, heading straight into China's ports. This isn't just a shipment. It's a direct cut into America's economic bloodstream. After covering trade disputes for over a decade, I've learned one thing: the loudest threats usually hide the deepest fears. And Trump's tariff blitz? It's not just about fentanyl or trade deficits. It's about the one nightmare U.S. power players hope you never think about: losing control over North America's energy supply. If you remember the 1973 oil embargo, you know the story. Gas lines stretching for blocks. The economy suffocating because foreign suppliers simply turned off the tap. That vulnerability never disappeared. It was just buried under decades of Canadian reliability. For half a century, Washington treated Canadian oil and gas like a permanent safety net. The numbers tell the story. Canada pumps 9 million barrels of oil daily, and until recently, nearly 80% of that flowed straight into U.S. pipelines. That's what made America both the largest oil importer and one of the most energy-secure nations in the world. Why? Because Canadian crude came with something money can't buy: political stability. Venezuelan oil is trapped in chaos. Middle Eastern oil sits under the shadow of war. But Canadian energy? It was the one source the U.S. thought could never be used as leverage. That illusion shattered on July 8, 2025. Energy dependence is like a toxic relationship. You stay because you can't picture life without it. But now, Canada is building escape routes that lead anywhere but Washington. The Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion opened the door, and China walked right in, now buying an average of 207,000 barrels a day across the Pacific. And this is just the beginning. For decades, that oil would have flowed straight into U.S. pipelines. But here's the real gut punch. Oil is just the opening act. The main event? Liquefied natural gas. For 3 generations, Canadian oil and gas quietly worked like an invisible subsidy for America. Cheap, stable fuel kept shipping costs down, made manufacturing cheaper, and even lowered grocery bills. That safety net? It's gone. Trump's tariffs haven't just triggered a trade dispute. They've ripped apart a North American energy system that's been tightly woven for 75 years. And when that system snaps, the shockwaves hit everything. Canadian natural gas doesn't just heat homes. It fuels petrochemical plants that make the plastic in your phone, the fertilizer that grows your food, and the synthetic fibers in your clothes. If that fuel becomes uncertain, or worse, priced for Beijing instead of Boston, it's not just your gas bill that spikes. It's your entire lifestyle that takes the hit. While Washington scrambles, Asia is already locking in its future, and Canada's leading the charge. TC Energy's CEO openly says Canada is on track to become the world's top LNG supplier to Asia. These aren't last resort buyers, they're economic powerhouses: Japan, South Korea, and China. All moving away from coal but desperate for reliable fuel to keep their factories running and their lights on. Canada's ace card isn't just resources, it's location. From British Columbia, an LNG tanker can reach Tokyo or Shanghai in half the time it takes from the US Gulf Coast. In the energy world, time isn't just money, it's dominance. And Canada just claimed it. What's unfolding behind closed doors should keep Washington up at night. These LNG shipments aren't one-off deals. They're ironclad, decade-long contracts. And once they're signed, there's no going back. These contracts aren't tied to political wins. They'll outlast presidents, elections, and tariff outbursts. Once the ink is dry, that gas is gone, permanently redirected, no matter what Washington demands. The scale is jaw-dropping. The Kitimat LNG terminal in British Columbia can ship 14 million tons annually in its first phase alone. Planned expansions could double that capacity. One departing tanker carries enough fuel to power a mid-sized U.S. city for an entire week. Here's the game-changer America never anticipated: liquefied natural gas compresses to just 1/600 th, its original volume. For the first time in history, Canada can profitably send massive amounts of energy halfway across the globe. For Asia, that's security. For the U.S., it's the death of guaranteed Canadian supply. While Trump is busy lobbing tariff threats on social media, Prime Minister Mark Carney is quietly altering the entire battlefield. He's not engaging in public shouting matches or slapping on retaliatory tariffs. He's executing a long-term strategy that wins by making the fight irrelevant. The night Trump announced his 35% tariff hike, Carney's response was measured and surgical. Canada remains committed to KSMA free trade. No anger, no theatrics, just the composure of a leader already building exits America can't lock. And here's what most pundits have missed: Canada isn't trying to win the trade war. It's creating a global energy market where America's threats carry no weight. Every LNG shipment from British Columbia chips away at Washington's leverage. Every multi-year deal with Japan, South Korea, and China is another nail in the coffin of U.S. energy dominance. Markets have already caught on. Asian LNG prices have jumped 40% since Ottawa revealed its accelerated export schedule, and that's just the opening move.